I want to talk about this situation where this girl, Aleysha Ortiz, a 19-year-old UConn freshman, is now suing Hartford Public Schools, the city of Hartford, and her special needs case manager, Tita Santiago, ever since December 2024. Now, what's interesting about this, so the story here is that Miss Aleysha, she claims that she graduated with honors, a 3.5 GPA, back in June 2024, but she is functionally illiterate, meaning she cannot read or write at a functional level, and that it's due to the school neglecting her needs. Now, part of why this matters is it really exposes the broken political system that we have kids in that is failing them. So while they're handing out these diplomas like their participation trophies, you have people like her that are falling through the cracks. So a little bit more about her story. So I read that since first grade, she has had dyslexia, ADHD, a speech impediment, and that she can't properly recognize letters or numbers. And then by middle school, she was reading at a kindergarten level, and that her red flags were being ignored, and that she has spent many years trying to get more help. But instead of getting her more help, they've pretty much just given her like tech like resources that allowed her to skate her way through. So she ended up graduating again with a 3.5 GPA using text to speech app, and speech to text apps as well, which a lot of those can actually just be used to help you find the answers, and that she never really had to learn how to read or write because she had technology helping her along the way. This is also something that I find concerning about ChatGPT, how a lot of students are using it. And not to sound like a hypocrite, because if I had ChatGPT when I was in school, I definitely would have been using it too. But I certainly would have made sure I knew what I was doing so that on test day, I was going to be able to pass still, because I never had a B growing up in my academia. And the thing is, though, is I was getting tested all the time. This girl, she says that she was only tested on her last day of school. So she used these speech to text apps and never had to learn how to read or write. But the lawsuit is actually interesting, because what it's really having to do is with the negligence and emotional distress that she says that she dealt with from Hartford School District, and particularly from her case manager, her special needs case manager, Tita, or Tilda. What is her name? Tita or Tilda? Tilda, from Tilda. And it's a lawsuit where she seeks $3 million for negligence and emotional distress. And I have so many questions about that. But first of all, let's unpack just the wasteful spending here, because I'm sitting here listening to this like, how do you graduate with a 3.5 GPA if you literally can't read or write? Like, that just doesn't make sense to me in any sort of context. And I'm like, is their school struggling that much financially? And I looked, and no, their school district is actually giving their students almost twice the national average of funding, or their school district is getting nearly twice the amount of national funding compared to every other student. They're getting about $33,000 per pupil. So they definitely don't have a shortage of funds. Hartford School District's getting $450 million for their roughly 16,000 students. And this is the result: having kids graduate who can't read. And this is why we need an entire restructuring of our educational system. Because what do you mean you're getting $500 million for only 16,000 kids and you still have kids graduating who can't read? That is a joke. That is an absolute joke. And they talk so much about progressive equity and this obsession with handing out unearned achievements, unearned grades. And it's really cheating these kids of the opportunity to get a proper education. And it's really sending our entire nation backwards. Because for this girl to have graduated with honors without being able to read or write, this is why we are tanking when it comes to global rankings in education. What does this future look like if we can't even read? But as far as the lawsuit itself, I find the lawsuit a bit weird, because the lawsuit doesn't even have to do with the failures of them teaching her. The lawsuit has more to do with the emotional distress that she dealt with from her school district, saying that she was bullied and yelled at and all these different things because she wasn't an adequate student, essentially. Which I look at that, I'm like, there has to be some personal accountability there, because nobody was forcing her, I would assume, to technology as a crutch to get through school. Like, I feel like there's a lot of people out there with dyslexia who find other means of being able to read properly. So, and again, that's not quite a part of the lawsuit, but it has more to do with emotional distress. And to me, that looks like, I don't know if that's an excuse because that's an easier lawsuit for you to win. But if you want $3 million for your feelings, I could not possibly disagree anymore with the premise of this lawsuit. But if your lawsuit has really an undertone of the fact that you weren't taught and that you were giving scholarships and academic achievements and honors because of trying to shove every kid through the school system rather than actually teaching you, that is something I could get behind. So I'm going to be following this a bit to see if any more pieces of information come out about it, but it really just goes to show that diplomas often mean nothing anymore, and that these kids are graduating to go absolutely nowhere, which is again why the work of PragerU is so important. The work of PragerU kids is so important. They don't teach financial literacy in school these days. They barely teach history in school these days. And according to this, they don't even teach how to read and write in schools these days. The bar is as low as it possibly could be.